Welcome in to Clips and Dip, episode 55 of season 2. I'm Adam Moslin. We got Chuck Mockler and Will Updike, and a big show for you guys. Coming up, we're going to have a rousing speech to try to light a fire under this Clippers team.
I don't know about all
Did you
that.
hear Jimmy Johnson during that playoff game with the Dallas Mavericks during the halftime show? That was special stuff. I think Chuck's going to do the same thing for the Clippers in this one. But we'll also preview the Lakers game coming up on Wednesday. But let's start things off with this. Chuck, since I brought you up first, how you doing?
I'm doing great. The Clippers unveiled their new logo and jersey today, which I think they completely knocked out of the park. I'm feeling good. It's raining in Los Angeles. I was looking at Spencer Dinwiddie's last couple games, which has me a little worried about what might happen against the Lakers on Wednesday. But overall, I'm feeling good. It's New Jersey Day, right? Like, it's fun.
Big Will, you feeling good about the rebrand?
Oh, I'm loving it. It's I'm actually pretty surprised how well they were able to keep this whole thing under wraps.
Could not agree more.
We got a little inside information, but it, to be honest with you, was not until last night. And sure enough, everyone in the stadium got the same information as we got maybe an hour or two later. So this one, the way they kept it all under wraps, I thought was really, really interesting. But I love the look. I love the colors. I love going back to colors in general. I think, and this was my opinion, I really wasn't a fan of the City Edition jerseys this year, like the Blossom ones, the ones that look like they say chips. I really wasn't a fan.
We ran down those before they even came out, which is so crazy.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. We normally get a lot of rollout for these things. Like when they first debuted, like what they called the San Andreas ones, even with the Brave stuff, we got a lot of leading up to this. So this was completely different, completely unexpected, and I'm really liking it. I love that they're leaning into the nautical thing. Like we talk about, with this team on court so much, like what's their identity? Do they have an identity? But I think as a franchise, they've had a larger thing of like, what is Clippers basketball? Who are the Clippers? What is a Clipper? And they're taking some steps to address that while still, staying true to Los Angeles. So I loved it. I'm a big fan.
If you guys are watching this on the YouTube, if you're a new listener, thanks for checking in here on Clips and Dip. We do have kind of a slideshow going up as we just show the webpage from NBA.com.
You missed the unveiling if you're listening.
Yeah,
you missed a classic screen share. Something you can come to expect if you're watching the show on YouTube.
Could we throw it back up, because I just like looking at these things.
Yeah.
One more time. Say right off, Chuck. Can you go ahead and enhance on this one?
The pulse of Clipper Nation that I've been looking at and checking in on today, just from Twitter, a couple of polls I saw out there, the jerseys are without a doubt a slam dunk, so to speak, hit. Everybody wanted the red jersey back. Everybody wanted the Clippers cursive font back. That lettering is beautiful. It's classy. It looks good. I was somebody who was saying for a while, I just wish they made the San Andreas black and white ones, their home and away jerseys. But I understand now when you see the colors popping like this and that color scheme with the navy blue also, they look great. I am all for it. The logo has been a little bit mixed with some of the response, but I think overall, and personally for me, the more I see it, the more I like it. I think it just takes a little bit of time to get used to and almost kind of reconfigure your vision with and what you're focusing in on, because there's a lot going on there with the thought they put into it. And some people were saying, oh, it looks kind of like a cruise ship. When you focus in on the three flags for the ship, like that kind of makes it a little bit more distinct, and I see it pop out. It's almost like, that famous picture of I think it's called Vanity or something like that, of you're looking at a skull, or are you looking at a beautiful woman looking at herself in a mirror, and it's kind of that optical illusion type thing.
Look at the final score from yesterday.
Once you see, it's an illusion, Michael. Once you see the flags on the ship, like, it stands out as being a Clipper ship to me. So I like it. I like it the more I see it. I want one of those hats immediately. I want to be wearing one.
I ordered a sweater. I ordered the gray LA sweater. That gray LA script is also
that Kawhi was wearing.
You talk about a logo that's difficult to tackle and make your own. the Los Angeles, LA, we saw the Chargers try and do it, and they got flamed so hard on Twitter that they had to completely scrap that logo. I don't know if you guys remember that from a couple years ago. It's a difficult. You have the Dodgers, who are obviously the most iconic LA logo. I'm not comparing it to that, but their own take on this script, on the LA script, is really good. I really liked it. I ordered a sweater already. And I also love, Will, we were talking about the rollout a little bit. The way they kind of teased it with like Kawhi, PG, Terrence, and Harden all wearing the merch yesterday was really cool. They knocked us out of the park. And someone pointed out the font is the old school font on jerseys from back in the day, kind of like that serif font. And like they look more like kind of 90s-ish jerseys. Not all the way, but yeah, they absolutely crushed it.
Do we have the page where it just shows all the different variations of the different logos, where it's the LA, where it's the C, where it's the C with the ship in the middle, without it? You know what I mean?
Got it right here for you, bud. One sec. Let me share this screen.
Sorry, we didn't talk about this earlier or anything like that, but now I'm excited. It's such good use of our
that LA logo is so good. It's it's so well done.
Yeah.
And the Clippers cursive one is beautiful. That's classic. That feels like a throwback to the traditional jerseys that everybody were calling for. And the Clips one's nice too. I like it all, really. And I like how much thought they put in to making it a compass, to making the north part of the compass touch the N on Los Angeles. That's really cool. So yeah, Clippers marketing.
A rare W.
And I hear the argument for it like looking like a cruise ship or whatever. In my mind, though, like there was only two ways to go, right? Like there was like kind of exaggerated pirate ship, which I would have loved, but I think you have to keep in mind that this has to be a copyrightable thing that doesn't look like anything else. You know what I mean? Yeah. And how many like one tone, like ships have been done before, right? Like you see so many different of those ships,
and then you kind of
be
get
it clip art, be it other logos. Yeah, so you have to be aware of that kind of thing. So and it's also just that's kind of I would say like Steve Ballmer wants this team to have a certain kind of sheen and like modernity that I don't necessarily like. I don't necessarily love all the time, but I think this is a nice happy medium where it was really well done. Honestly, the only way it could have been better is if they just would have used the old mascot as
Sam Dunk.
As a little character in lieu of a logo.
For those of you who do not know who that is, we're gonna do one last screen share, and then we're gonna talk about
last.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, forever.
Didn't he used to be our background?
He did for a while. Yeah, we've been.
If this exact pose, which if you're only listening, if you're not watching this on YouTube, you got to get over to
George Costanza on the couch being.
It's how happy Matthew is.
Yeah, it's a grizzly old sailor man making a very sexual pose. Not sexual, not sexualized, sensual. I would say.
It's inviting,
artful.
Yeah, sure.
Tasteful, provocative. And he's wearing a Clippers hat. That's the only way they could have been.
These are great. Bring back Sam Dunk.
I like the modernized look though of the Clippers ship. To be honest, for what Will just said and outlined so beautifully, that has to be taken into account. Not looking too much like so many other ships that we have seen from other teams in various sporting leagues.
And now for the beat switch, we have to talk about how old the Clippers look. Sorry to put it that bluntly, but that is the other topic. If the jerseys wouldn't have come out today, the whole episode would have been a little more rough, I think. But we got some jerseys to appease us after, I don't know, the game was summed up perfectly by Ty Lue's quote when they asked him what went wrong. He said everything.
To be fair, the jerseys were coming out whether or not they won or lost last night.
Right. Yeah, true. Adam, you and I talked on the radio a little bit about what happened. Will, now that you were running a little hot last night, now that you've had some time to cool down, save the voice a little bit for the show because you're so upset. Where are you at now that we've kind of slept on that gross loss to a good Kings team?
I mean, it is to a good Kings team and a good Kings team that has shown up against other high level competition as well. It's like I always say, like you play the team, not their record. That being said, this just was an ugly game for the Clippers, and it was just more of the same. Unfocused defensively, like I hate to bring back unserious, which is what we said all the time last season, but like that defensively was an unserious performance, and it's just not going to get it done. And I know that rotation wise, Ty Lue's hand was super forced. It was super forced, with no PG. There's only so much you can do, and I really do think, especially with, I don't know what the hell's going on with Mason Plumlee and Daniel Tice. I really have no idea did those guys forget how to play basketball? I got no idea. I got no answers for you right there. But I think that this stretch has been really illuminating and terrifying about what this Clippers depth actually is, which is a lot worse than I had given it credit for, which was, I mean, Charles, we on this very podcast talked about what this center rotation could be up there with some of the best in the league. And that is just not what this team is. And
right now.
Was that with Rod? Was I there for that episode? Or
I've said that multiple times. I've been like, this center rotation's so good.
Hey, I've said Mason Plumlee should be the second best backup big in the league to Naz Reid.
Where to go?
And maybe the answer was just keeping with what consistency you've had this season and just going with Amir in the starting lineup. We got next to nothing production-wise from the bench, obviously, with Powell in the starting unit, which is to be expected. But, there's just not a lot of offense there, and there hasn't been defense there. That hasn't been a thing all season long for this bench. So you're in a losing situation. I've got a question for you guys. Charles and I have been talking about this a little bit. What is going on with these first quarter stints for James Harden? I haven't run down the numbers yet, so I promise I'll try to look into this more. It's just difficult.
You just promised.
I'll try. I said I promise I'll try.
Okay.
This is a real divorced dad kind of a promise. I promise I'll try to look up the numbers compared to other starting lineups. But at the 6-minute mark, like clockwork, James Harden is getting taken out for Russell Westbrook. The starting five is shifted. How many starting fives in this league aren't good for 8-9 minutes? And how much of James Harden's sort of issues getting going early, especially to create his own offense, have to be due to not a lot of room to shoot things out, not a lot of time to work things out, to adjust to a defense? Why are we doing the same thing like clockwork when I'm so sorry, we're having a downgrade of talent on the floor? We're making the spacing worse on the floor. And ultimately, we're making Kawhi and Paul George have to do more on the floor. I just don't get the unnecessary burden that we're putting on these guys when they're already playing the most games they've played in years. And we're hoping to keep them healthy for the playoffs. I just don't get it. Where do you guys stand?
Well,
what say you at follow Adam A?
You guys can find me there if you don't know. So they are 23rd in net rating in first quarters in February. I believe we're talking about 12 games, something like that, because they were playing much better. 10 games. They were playing much better early on. That was something that looked like they put behind them, those slow first quarter starts. Mm-hmm. But in February, that's dipped. They're a minus 2.6 plus minus in first quarters, which is almost bottom 5 in February. I'm not sure exactly, other than, okay, if they're an older, slower team, does it make sense that that's probably the worst time for them to try to get it going because they're just old legs, tired legs, they're warming up? If we're looking at a team that we're saying it's older and slower, isn't that going to affect them most in first quarters? It takes some time to get into gear.
I can see the logic.
We're looking for anything right now. But to your point of, why are they taking him out so early? Why don't they stick with him longer? I don't know, because if you're starting off slow and you're getting outscored by 5 points right off the bat in the first 5 minutes, there is also logic to putting in Russell Westbrook and saying, okay, this guy has energy, he has intensity, and maybe the game can turn around. It hasn't worked like that very often. In fact, his worst stint yesterday was in the first half by far. He was better in the second half.
Yes.
But I think they're searching right now. I think there's so many things going wrong. You talk about the big men and how much they have struggled. Mason Plumlee hasn't looked right since coming back from the injury. Daniel Tice hasn't looked great, although had his moments last night where I thought he was better, and I was glad to see him get the call because Mason Plumlee's been that bad, and then that matchup against the Kings, I think it made sense to play Daniel Tice more. But when there are that many lapses defensively, and you have two guys that look to be average right now with their defense and rim protection, one just being undersized, the other one being out of position, and Mason Plumlee, they get exposed more. Those flaws that they have when nobody else is picking up the slack or keeping guys in front of them along the perimeter, all of a sudden they look much worse. They can't account for everything. They can't make up for things the way Ivica Zubac has for this Clippers team with backline defense. So if you just look at it and dumb it down, just look at how many guys are in a funk right now. Just how many guys are playing bad or regressing. While Terrence Mann the last couple of games offensively is turning things around, great. Amir Coffey, his last 3 games, hasn't looked like the same guy coming out of the All-Star break. And I'm not going to, slander him too much. Was playing above his head. He was playing at a level that was unsustainable because he was shooting 60%.
That amount of play is the thing too, right? That's new for his body in terms of regular season basketball.
But 8 points against OKC, 2 against Memphis in 25 minutes, 0 for last night in 20 minutes when they needed somebody else to pick up the slack with Norman Powell getting the start. He hasn't been good. Obviously, PG-13 has been in a funk for the last month. James Harden's been in a funk. We mentioned the 2 backup bigs. Russell Westbrook hasn't played good. Half the team is not playing well right now. So if you look at it that way, it kind of makes sense why they're 3-4 and almost a bottom 5 offense and defense in their last 7 games post-Grammy road trip. That's it.
And it seems like it's chalked up to. So Ty Lue said, which I think all of us were surprised to hear this last night at the pregame, before the game, Ty Lue said they're practicing today and tomorrow before the Lakers game on Wednesday, which is a lot of practice just in general, which is good. But at the post game, he mentioned that it was going to be about getting mentally focused again. So I'm wondering, I don't think these practices are going to be super intense, obviously, but to your point, Adam, everyone's kind of playing poorly, which does maybe suggest more of a broader focus issue versus everyone just kind of being down physically at the same time.
Wouldn't it be nice if it's more about mental fatigue, though, than physical fatigue? It's not just old legs out there. It's guys that got up for that Grammy trip. They went 6-1. It was beautiful. It's some of the best basketball we've seen this team play ever in franchise history. They've had the best run they've ever had, the Clippers. And it was highlighted. That was the pinnacle of it, going 6-1 on that Grammy road trip. Mm-hmm. But you have a letdown after that. It feels like, I don't know, the fan base certainly rode that pretty high. Did the players ride that road trip too high too? When, okay, guys, that's great and all, but it's not the championship. It's not the playoffs. There's still March. The season is not over. It was a great accomplishment. And now you have to get back up. And just that emotional drain of finding a way to beat Boston like that on a back-to-back, finding a way to win those last 2 games on a back-to-back in Miami and then in Atlanta, I think it's had a compounding effect on this team. There's been after effects.
Yeah. It's not fun right now, especially.
They're brutal offensively. Last night's game looked similar to what we saw when they were working out the kinks initially with James Harden. It looked like the Denver game. Just give it to Kawhi, hope he creates something. They weren't getting good looks at all. James Harden with bailout, grenade 3-pointers at the end of the shot clock because other guys were passing up, open 3-pointers at times. This offense, that's what's most shocking to me, that the offense has fallen off.
The passing up open 3-pointers is the one thing that's real easy, where it's like, okay, guys, just got to not hesitate. That one seems fixable. The utter lack of off-ball movement is baffling to me. It's still baffling to me. I don't understand. I just don't understand how there can be 4 guys standing weak side, fucking staring at Kawhi. And these are professional basketball players, mind you, and not have the foresight or the wherewithal to go strong side, try to get open, try to do anything to help out a teammate who has 3 bodies on him. Like, one of you is open.
How do you go from 3 months straight of being second offensively to then have a 7-game stretch where you are 23rd on offense with the talent the Clippers have out there? I could see this coming defensively, where I think they're 26th defensively in the last 7 games, where they're 3-4 now.
Jesus.
I could see that. No, make it 24th. But 23rd on offense after you were second and doing historic stuff offensively, how is it grinded to a halt that much? Like, okay, maybe it falls to 12th or 15th. They've fallen completely out of the top 10. They're almost bottom 5.
They're kissing the bottom 5, some would say. Some people would
kissing the bottom.
Oh, no. Yeah, the PG getting rest was good. I think we all agree that was good. Hopefully he looks good against the Lakers on Wednesday, which is going to be both teams look bad right now.
Should he play?
Actually, we got to take a quick. Can he play?
Can he play?
We got to take a quick break. If you're listening, the ads have been loud. Go ahead and turn it down. They've been loud for some people. And if you make fun of me for saying that, the next time you listen to the pod, you're going to get your eardrums blown out. I have multiple receipts of people saying that. So we're talking about the Lakers game after these ads in 3, 2, 1.
All right. Welcome back into Clips and Dip. We talked about the good stuff, a little rebrand. We talked about the bad stuff. Team
Everything
looking
else.
like a hot pile of ass. Let's look ahead to the Lakers. All right, how y'all feeling on this? What run us down, Chuck? What do we need to know?
Adam was asking if he was asking if we think if PG should play. And the answer is yes. We need, now we're at a time where I'm like, we need the win, dude. It's been 4 days. Get the rest. If he's ready, I don't know. We need to win this game.
The only reason I brought that up is because they have Washington afterwards. And there's an opportunity there for you to get him an entire week off. And that is the quick fix. Paul George comes back and is 100%.
Quick.
Well, I mean, that would turn things around instantly, I think, if Paul George was just right for this team.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to put everything on him. But they have been mediocre defensively for a long time and have gotten by anyways because they've been so fantastic on offense. So if they could just get back to that, they'd be in good shape.
So you're saying sit him?
If he doesn't feel right, if he's not healthy, they can beat the Lakers without him. I'm not saying that's a given. I think it's going to be a really tough game, especially because they're getting beat on offensive boards the way they are. What's going to happen against the Lakers?
Look, I don't know what the answer is. We talked about how difficult Ty Lue has it rotation-wise, but if Paul George is not at 75%, 80% of what we know he can be, I say just sit him, man. Because what we saw out there, I think you just got to ask more from the role players and ask more people to step up until he's in that spot. Because it's clear he doesn't have full trust in his body. He's dealing with some soreness or pain or whatever. I say just maybe go back to the Amir plan. And
against this Lakers team, for sure, get Amir in the starting lineup over Norm size-wise.
And let these role players and guys know. I mean, this team is used to this, right? They're used to stepping up when one at 2-1-3 or both at 2-1-3 is down, and this is nothing new to them. So I think if the options are a tentative Paul George or no Paul George, I think I'm gonna go no Paul George, and if that's a loss, I mean then that's a loss, and it sucks, especially with the standings and the way things are. But I just don't see the point of running out the version of Paul George that we were seeing.
Especially if he's not going to even make it the full game, right? If he was out the last game, then you have some disaster where it's like, oh, he's done after half or something like that. Then things become.
And how often do we criticize? Do we or just people in media in general criticize teams when guys are coming back to action way too soon, and then something just way worse happens. The athlete is always going to say they're fine, and they're always going to play through it. And I admire that about Paul George. I probably couldn't physically I couldn't physically go through the pain that he is probably playing with without crumpling into a tiny pile of dust. So it's like I'm not getting down on him here. It's just like it's not worth it to me. Like, no seed is worth it to me. Nothing is worth it to me if we can't get one healthy playoff run with Kawhi and Paul and James Harden. Like, truly nothing else matters.
Everything means nothing to me. Everything means
All right.
nothing to.
Is this the first Elliott Smith reference on the?
It might be
one of my favorites. Could I point out that this isn't a new knee injury, and maybe that's a positive takeaway?
You cannot point that out.
No, it's true.
I know.
Sorry, your point's been withdrawn.
Yeah, we were
moving on.
Yeah.
All right, I yield my time. So he was in a locker room session with Law Murray 3 weeks or a month ago. Maybe it was after the Pistons game where he played really well at home. And he talked about it then, that he was dealing with a knee injury thing, and just kind of chalked it up to being, wear and tear of the season. It happens. So I'm hopeful that is all he's dealing with that left knee soreness right now. And it's not something more drastic. And maybe like what we saw with Kawhi Leonard missing that game against the Golden State Warriors recently. He looks to be recharged. I'm not that worried about Kawhi. No. Once again, no reason to talk about Kawhi on this show. He's still been good. But there has been one issue with Kawhi recently. As spry as he has looked, he has low-key been missing some three-pointers. He was shooting during this historic stretch. It's something like last 35 games. He's almost at 50% from the outside. But the last now, let's see, about 5 games, he's something like 3 for 15 from distance. It's something to monitor, because when you do have tired legs, it tends to show up on long jumpers like that. So what Will said last show, and we posted this as the tease, there's concern that they're riding Kawhi Leonard too much, that they're putting too much on his plate, that's going to have a cumulative effect. And so you're trying to compensate for one guy being out. You put more of a workload on Kawhi, but then if it wears him down, now somebody's got to pick him up, and nobody can really do that on this team. It's a lot of moving targets. It's whack-a-mole right now with the problems arising with this Clippers team at the wrong time, by the way. March is still coming, right, Chuck? Right?
Yeah, we're maybe going to talk about that later. We'll see. But with this so I mentioned this before the break. Both these teams look rough right now. They're both 1-2. Neither fan base really knows what each team's going to look like on any night right now, kind of after the All-Star break. Lakers are leading the season series 2-1. I believe this is the final matchup at Intuit Dome of Clippers-Lakers in the regular season.
Mm-hmm. You mean at Crypto?
Crypto, yeah. Whatever. I hate all these sponsors.
Come on, man.
Clippers won the last game. There was no LeBron or Zoo, so there's not a bunch to take away from that. But if you look at the defense from last time, Kawhi was on LeBron for 5 minutes per the weird, wonky NBA data. He went 0 for 2. AD went 5 for 9 on Zoo. AD had a pretty nice game the last time he played Zoo. So I'm worried about the defense. I hope it's Amir Coffey, Will, like kind of you talked about, because the bench is going to be weird in this one. The Lakers play like 7 guys right now. So we need something from our bench.
That's where, I mean, obviously it'll be hard because they're like bigger and more physical, but I see like those minutes where you don't have one of LeBron or AD on the floor, that offense for the Lakers really slowing down, and where you're going to try to get stops, but I think your best opportunity is to really showcase some of what we know they can do from a scoring perspective against those units.
Well, isn't the simple answer to this from at least half the fan base is, well, you got Russell Westbrook coming off the bench, so you should be good to go. But Russ hasn't played well.
We are not. Yeah.
He's playing the Lakers, and that's a former team, and he has gotten up for them, but he's also looked out of control at times. He missed 3 more layups last night at least. there are so many guys right now that need to catch a rhythm. And I actually think the Lakers, I've been watching them a lot the last month. They've been playing much better. Over in February, they have the 4th best offense in the league. And that's usually their bugaboo. They're 17th defensively over that stretch. They easily still could have came back down 20 in the first quarter to the Phoenix Suns in that game yesterday. I thought they were going to at one point because the Suns are known for blowing leads. But they only got 8 free throws. Big concern there. They're complaining about free throws while heading into this game against the Clippers. I'm a little bit worried about that. I said it in my NBA report earlier at Follow Adam A on X is where you can hear that. And I was like, I'd hate to be the team that plays the Lakers next after they're complaining about calls. And then I said, oh shit, it's the Clippers. But I believed it because radio.
Another thing that I mentioned off top, talk about coming into this game not feeling good about, Spencer Dinwiddie, 8 points in his last 3 games combined, not averaged, combined. He's a streaky guy. He's due for I hope the defense looks good when it's, James and Kawhi and some of the bench guys, because something tells me that Dinwiddie might have a big game. And they're starting D'Lo too. So Zoo's going to be put into actions real quick. He's looked phenomenal lately, so I'm less upset about what level of play we're going to get from him individually.
How about they give him the damn ball? When Zoo is 5 of 6 at the half, he started 3 of 3. You're struggling offensively to generate anything. He can be a cheat code at times. I feel like they've forgotten how good he was before he got injured in that pick and roll with James Harden. What happens to you run that 60 times, you get 55 good shots, just spamming the pick and roll. When things aren't working, why not just go to that with Ivica Zubac? He only took 3 more shots in the second half after starting 5 of 6, and one of them, I think, was an offensive rebound and a putback, so he had to generate his own offense. They still weren't looking for him. I've said this multiple times this season. Sometimes there's an easier path to victory, and it's playing through Ivica Zubac. He has played well against Sabonis throughout his entire career. Sabonis started 1 for 8.
Yeah.
And most of that was all of Ivica Zubac. Now, eventually he got it going, but he still finished 7 of 17. He had a triple-double. He did a lot of other stuff, and he had the big dunk on Zoo. He owed him one because Zoo has had the 2 biggest dunks of his career on Domantas Sabonis. I almost said Arvidas there. But I would just love for him to get featured a little bit more as on offense as a primary scorer sometimes. When they're not running anything else, run pick and roll with Ivica Zubac, please. Because last time out against Anthony Davis, you mentioned that game. Didn't he have 20 and 19? Didn't Ivica Zubac pretty much outplay Anthony Davis in that game? Like, he gets up for the Lakers games too. That's his former team. All these guys, it's going to be telling Wednesday. Because if there's one team that this Clippers team in the regular season always gets up for, no matter what their record is, no matter what the Lakers' record is, it's the Los Angeles Lakers. They have always found a way to show that intensity and urgency against them. If they don't have that pop against the Lakers, then I'm really worried. Like, they don't have any gas left in the tank. And I wanted to bring this up, but what do you guys think about this? Are we seeing the other side right now of going so hard in the regular season? Because we've always complained about, well, you got to take the regular season more seriously. And they do, and it has worked so far this season, and I don't think there's any regrets there. Mm-hmm. But is there a natural side effect where you hit walls like this at times because guys have been playing so many minutes, have been so much more available? Kawhi hasn't hit a wall, but James Harden doesn't look like right now, and he hasn't missed a game so far as a Clipper. Russ hasn't missed a game all season long. I'm just wondering, like, why not ride some of the young guys right now a little bit more, and Terrence Mann, who's on a bit of a heater for his standard, and Ivica Zubac?
I do think that you're right, there is kind of this is the side effect of having an older team and going for it 100% in the regular season. This is kind of to be expected, right? Like, you're not going to be the number 1 team the whole time, unless you're the Celtics, I guess, in that conference. But like, with this Clippers team, with how old they are, it makes sense to hit a wall. We got to make sure it's right before April 20th. But hopefully they're upswinging at the right time. Everything's kind of happened good time, or lucky timing wise, for the Clippers this season. I hope this is a lucky time to have a rough go of it and it starts coming back up. Terrence is going to be huge tomorrow too. He's going to get that D'Lo assignment right off top. So I hope they lean into Terrence. Hope they lean into Zoo. And let's get some bone broth going, right? Like let's maybe try the young guard off the bench who could score. I don't know. Will, you can answer Adam's question. Sorry.
I concur.
Astute.
I don't want to say it's a be careful what you wish for monkey paw situation or anything like that, because they have gotten to this point where they were the number 1 seed at times, where they've been a top 3 seed until losing that game last night and Denver winning last night, where they've been a top 3 seed for the majority of the season. So you'll take it. I'm just saying, is it natural to see something like this? Mm-hmm. And, the cavalry isn't on the way. The reinforcements aren't showing up. There's nobody that they picked up at the trade deadline. They haven't picked up anybody off the waiver wire. It's going to get worse scheduling-wise the next couple of weeks. They got Minnesota twice. They got the Milwaukee Bucks twice. And the Lakers have found their starting lineup finally. I have no idea why it took Darvin Ham so long to put Rui Hachimura next to D'Lo, next to Austin Reeves, next to LeBron, next to AD. It seemed obvious. I know they had some injury stuff, but they look pretty good. They look much more potent offensively.
So now this is the most important part. Will, you might have to get out of here before the next segment starts, but I want to give you a chance for your Kawhi Leonard player of the game pick versus the Lakers.
Kawhi Leonard, player of the game versus the Lakers. I'm going to go Terrence Mann. I like the way he really relishes in this lineup. I think that we will need him defensively. And, man, he is never afraid to go at a bigger team around the rim. Some of the most iconic Terrence moments have been going against the guy that he probably had no business going against and still coming out on top. So I'm going to go Terrence Mann, and especially if PG is gone, we're going to need him to have another great game. I think he's hitting that point where he's been really consistent.
Adam, your Kawhi Leonard player of the game.
I'm going to go with Russell Westbrook. This is part of the reason you have him as an innings eater during moments like this, during the regular season where guys don't have it, and Russ always has energy. I want to see Russell Westbrook burn his former team. Turn down some of those three-pointers. Throw down a couple of dunks instead of trying to lay it up. And just help them get up with the level of energy and intensity that they're going to need, because the Lakers are bigger and more physical. We've talked about, even before the first game this season, it looks like on paper they have a much better roster to match up against the Clippers. Like, they have built a team to try to beat the Clippers. Because you lose 11 straight, naturally that's going to happen. And, they may have holes otherwise against some other teams, but against the Clippers, they've looked pretty good.
I'm going Zoo. Zoo has been phenomenal lately. He's going up against a much different center in Anthony Davis than versus Domantas Sabonis. So I think the offense is going to be a little bit more difficult. I hope he's locked in defensively, but Zoo being able to somewhat contain AD, I'm not saying shut down or anything like that, to mitigate some of that threat is going to be huge. We're going to need him to be at maybe the best he's been all season. His passing's been great. It's a physical team that makes the pick and roll hard too, so he's going to have to be good in the short roll. A lot is on Zoo's shoulders on Wednesday night. And of course, Kawhi Leonard, as we all know, needs to be elite.
They're not going to have Christian Wood, which does make a difference. He's been good against the Clippers and has been good in his role at times for the Lakers. But even Jackson Hayes has given them really good minutes at times. If you watch the last game against Denver, they lost it close once again in the fourth quarter to the Nuggets, the Lakers. But Jackson Hayes has kind of been on the rise for them. So I agree with you. Big Zoo. Huge game.
Huge game. All right. Coming up, we're going to try and project some of the Clippers seeding. March is on the way. Everyone's stressed out about it. No one more so than myself. But before we get to that, Will, do you have to leave before the next segment? Would you like to say anything to the fans? You're muted.
Perfect.
What a metaphor.
Got my voice back only to mute my damn self. Look, it's gonna be better. We're gonna figure it out. I'm happy once they pop these new threads on their body. What's the old saying, Chuck? You look good, you feel good, you play good, and that's something you can take to the bank. Okay.
I mean, that's next year, but
hey, they got new sweaters, Adam. They were
you're right. My bad. And I want them.
Now that the sabotage is over, we will see you next time. Adam and I are going to be back after these maybe very loud ads for those of you listening. If that's been the case, go ahead and turn it down. We're talking seeding projection and then, maybe a little bit of an upswing talk in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back in Clips and Dip, episode 55, season 2. Had a nice Clips and double dip last night with Chuck Mockler after a tough Clippers loss to the Sacramento Kings, who were just 4 games back of them. Currently, they would be locked up against the Kings in a first-round matchup, which I know some people matchup-wise, you might not hate that, but Sacramento can also wear you down with how fast they can play at times, and just trying to guard De'Aaron Fox and bottle him up is tough. Chuck, I know in the rundown here, we're going to talk about some of the standings some more and where the Clippers could end up. We've been talking about it the last couple of weeks, just in anticipation of March and the importance of getting a top 3 seed. On the last show, on that Saturday Live, we had someone comment about what about getting the 4 spot? And we said, well, if you're in the 4, that means there's a good chance you're going to have to play Minnesota and Denver along the way just to get out of the Western Conference, 2 teams that certainly have had the Clippers number. So that's not great. And aside from that, what have we been saying forever? There's one team that has won the championship the last 50 years that was not a top 3 seed, and they just happened to be the team that had won it the year before. So it's not even a fair parallel with the 95 Houston Rockets and anyone else. But yeah, it is important for this team to get victories, even while we say maybe Paul George should sit a ball game against the Los Angeles Lakers.
Right?
How do you balance it?
They have to stack these wins while also very badly needing these wins. It's kind of desperate. Desperation sounds like more of a negative connotation on the team itself, but I don't mean it like that. But the schedule is a desperation part of the schedule. This upcoming month is going to be insane. Law Murray put some projections out. Also, shout out to Law Murray. He's been with the team so much this year. He was at the Grove today. He said, here's what I think LAC record should be if they are targeting a seed with 26 games left. To be the number 1 seed, he's projecting 22-4. It's the same for the number 2 seed. So 22-4 probably gets you the 1 or 2 seed remaining for the Clippers in La Murray's mind. I don't think he's far off with these at all. Number 3, 19-7. Stay at 4, 12-14. Which of these sounds the most realistic or feels the most? I'm going to timestamp myself. On my Monday, February 26th, 6:49 p.m. Pacific time, I do not see the Clippers going 22-4 to end the season. That would be wonderful. I would love a Joseph Rye Award-esque streak.
Honestly, even if they weren't in this rut right now, it would be hard to predict 22-4 if they were still on that high and crushing.
The number makes sense. That number makes sense to get the 1 seed. That's not what we're trying to say at all. But the likelihood of that happening difficult. 19-7. You can convince me. You can convince me. I'm on board with 19-7. 12-14. Also, I could see happening. I hope it does. I think they'll be better than 12-14. But I think it's going to be somewhere between. I think 19-7 and 12-14 is kind of the ceiling floor for these last games. Maybe 12-14 is a little harsh.
It makes you feel like, okay, if they can go 12-14, they're still the 4 seed. They're pretty secure then where they are right now, positioning wise in the West, and there's a very small chance they fall below 4. But there's still a chance, especially the way they've been playing recently. It has to turn around, or else they're just going to continue to keep bleeding out here, because March is going to be as taxing as anything we've seen in the 2-1-3 era in the regular season. And Chuck has been on top of this before any of you sons of bitches. This guy, 6 months before the season started. Hey, take it all, man. This was you. You were ahead of this before anyone. What happened at Thanksgiving? I walk in, I see Chuck on the couch. I'm like, "What's up, man?" I'm just thinking about March.
Yeah. I don't know if I think you're giving too much credit for my anxiety over this period of the schedule. But if you're surprised by it, I do not know what to tell you. If you're surprised by the Clippers' upcoming schedule, you must be a new fan, which welcome. Love to have you. But if you're a listener of this pod or an avid follower of the Clippers, you know that this is going to be a hellish month.
It starts with winning these next 2 games, right? There is a good opportunity that they can win the next 2. Start to right the ship a little bit. Because then you have those Bucks, those Minnesota games. It's a back-to-back Sunday, Monday in Minnesota, and then in Milwaukee. That might be the toughest back-to-back any team has played this season, especially because Milwaukee's going to pull out of this funk they've been in, this tailspin that they've been in. It's probably the wrong time to catch this Doc Rivers-led Milwaukee Bucks team.
And don't we play the Bucks and the Timberwolves close to after that back-to-back, and I'm pretty sure that might be in like some 3-5 or some horrible period of the schedule too.
Yeah, after that, so they take on the Bucks in Milwaukee on Monday, March 4th. Then they're in Houston the 6th, so a day off. Then they get a couple of days off.
Okay.
March 9th, they have a home matinee afternoon start against the Chicago Bulls.
Is that the last matinee of the Clippers era?
That is a good question here. It looks like it from what I'm seeing. No, they got the 76ers on March 24th at home at a 12:30 start. But the very next day, they have the Milwaukee Bucks at home.
So not horrible. Okay.
A matinee back-to-back at home. And then they're in Minnesota. No, then it's the Minnesota Timberwolves at home the next night. So you almost get a day and a half off. It's not the worst back-to-back. One game starts at 12, one game starts at 7.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's March 12th. So they do have a day off in between. So it's Sunday and then Tuesday.
Okay, well that's good. Hey,
so only one of the Bucks Minnesota games are a back-to-back situation.
Okay, well I take it back then. They're gonna go like 12 and 5 in March. Then that changes everything.
Should we put out some March predictions?
Oh, I don't know, man.
Is it not close enough?
Can we talk? Let's do it after the Lakers game.
Okay.
Let's see how they look after they're doing some more mentally focused practices. Because right now I don't know what I wouldn't feel exceptionally good about it. But
do you believe it's more mental than physical at this point?
I don't know, man. I think for some guys, maybe. I have no idea what's happening with Tyson Plumlee. They were very serviceable to good not that long ago. Right? Maybe it has to do with James Harden James Harden controls a fair percentage of how good the centers can be when he shares the floor with them. He's directing everything and they love the pick and roll. But I don't know what's going on with those two guys. And I think it was the Lob, the Jam, the Pod was tweeting this. How many full right now with guys going through stuff? How long is the rotation of guys who can effectively, positively affect a playoff game? It's the starters. It's Norm. It's Amir.
It has to be Russ.
Russ is going to get chances, but that's a crapshoot. Everything after Amir is a crapshoot for guys who get actual time right now for the Clippers, which makes it tough.
We haven't brought up PJ.
Sure. Let's PJ got 5 minutes.
Okay.
He got one stint, did not see the floor again. Well, hey, we might see him Wednesday, right? This is a big
He played the first game against the Lakers, that second night back-to-back right after the trade deadline. He was available, but James Harden wasn't.
Yeah. So great. We'll see PJ on Wednesday.
The one thing I'll say, he had a deflection yesterday, and he had an amazing defensive possession against De'Aaron Fox, where it looked like I was about to put all caps. Fox got clamped by PJ Tucker at Follow Adam A, but then he hit a circus shot over the top of him anyways. But I was impressed.
Your account. I would have reported your account.
Flagged it. I was impressed with the lateral movement and sticking with him. Honestly, I watched it close. It wasn't just me. Carlo Jimenez was on the call. He highlighted the fact that PJ Tucker was one-on-one with De'Aaron Fox and more than held his own. Fox is just that good. He can hit a shot over the top of you. But the position he's been put in right now is not advantageous for him or the Clippers. Like him playing next to Daniel Tice.
Yeah.
Well, the only way that PJ Tucker is going to have a real shot of being a positive for this team is at the small ball 5.
With 4 shooters. 4. Yes. Not 3. 4 guys.
If it's small ball.
Yeah. But Russ can't be out there.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Kawhi, PG, Harden, or Norm, or Amir, or Mann, he's almost 50% from 3 in the new year. That can work. I do think there's something there. Him playing the 4 is not going to work. And I was listening to Lucas Hahn earlier, our boss, and
is he listening now?
He had a great line about how the Clippers are going to be in the shit in March. I was like, I got to say that to Chuck. I mean,
hey, he's a smart guy. He hired us.
But he brought it up how, you're not going to be able to get by with him at the 4. And maybe the only reason they're doing that right now in the regular season is just to get him reps while still getting Daniel Tice touches, still getting Mason Plumlee touches out there, and just trying to keep guys in the flow. So when you do need them later on, they are not ice cold like the Clippers are to start off first quarters right now.
Right. There is reason. So I put this in here. You were feeling a little down when the pod started. I said in the rundown, glimpse a little behind the curtain for those of you. There is a rundown sometimes. Every time. Sometimes it's red. I will not share it. It's not a shared doc. 3 people have access to this.
It's doc. Really thorough and well done, guys. I got to say.
It's
Charles
okay.
Moffler does a hell of a job.
The note says the team looks bad right now, but there is reason to believe things can get on the upswing before the playoffs start on 4/20, right? There is belief. We've seen this team. What? That's when they start.
Okay.
I didn't make the schedule.
No.
Well, it seems like
that was my look towards Adam Silver, not you.
Yeah. Adam Silver just roasting bones, just laughing his ass off, making the playoffs start on 4/20.
Now I'm thinking David Stern water bottle gif, hearing that the playoffs start on 4/20.
This team's been in a funk before. Paul George has been in a funk before. We've seen them play fantastic basketball. We've seen them play some of the best basketball that the team has ever played in this era or as a franchise. Wasn't super long ago, but it feels long ago with how the time off and the Clippers kind of performing this way. But the pieces are there. This team has, again, I know it's tough right now. This team has the roster to win a championship. They really do. They have the coach to win the championship. It does not feel like it as of right now. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's all rosy. But the pendulum is going to swing the other way. This is an old team that's going to have to play a bunch and have to be in the shit together. And there's also, we've heard about sacrifice. There's going to be sacrifice when the playoffs come. Will could not be here for this segment, but I think the James Harden thing changes in the playoffs. There's no way for the majority of the time that we're going to be putting Russell Westbrook halfway into the game right when it starts in the playoffs. That seems crazy to me. Maybe 3 minutes left, maybe something like that, but it's not going to be a full first quarter. There's going to be changes to be made. I think Ty Lue's going to be able to, he's gotten these guys up this year. You know what I mean? Already. There's been some turmoil, right? It's not like we started the season with James Harden. Guys had to change their roles. It's been difficult, but if they win on Wednesday, I'm going to feel so much better about this little mini rant, but there is reason to believe. Counterpoint, Adam, why do you think they're going to lose every game from here on
out? Because March.
Hey, all right.
March is coming. You fear it. You're in March, you fear it. Post-March, you still are scared. No, I'll say this. No, I think there are. I think this is the reason why you don't get up too high, you don't get down too low, not too high, not too low. You stay even keel sometimes, because Brian Seaman has been talking about this during the broadcast. They're going to hit a rough spot again. They're going to face adversity again, and they're back in it. This is the most adversity they have faced since they went 0-6, 0-5 to start things off with James Harden. What I was talking about with Carlo last night was, when we attribute so much of the success to James Harden and running the offense and being a system, I think part of the problem right now is the system just has a cog in the machine. Like, he's not at his best, and therefore it affects everything else. That's the other side of when James Harden is not playing well. And he is still, is very necessary and playing more than well enough to be out there for 30 plus minutes a night.
Absolutely.
He has earned all of that, and they need him. And they are he has the best net rating on the team on the season.
Right.
Like, they fall from an offensive rating of like 122 to 109 when he's off the floor. Like, he is the guy. So they need him to come out of this. They're going to need Mason Plumlee eventually. He's your other 7-footer.
Yeah.
You can't teach height. They have to keep going to him and give him opportunities as much as he has struggled to come out of this. I'm not very worried about Amir Coffey. It's been 3 games, and there was going to be some regression. Kawhi still looks good. He's had some bad turnovers recently. That kind of speaks to a little bit of fatigue sometimes. But this team just has to sharpen things up. And if there's one team they always get up for, it's the Los Angeles Lakers.
There we go. Yeah. I'm also, if you're going to worry about the Clippers, which is totally fine. I worry about the Clippers constantly. Worry about what's in front of us, not about the trade deadline, not about anything like that. We're here. If you want to make yourself mad, think about what could have been. If you want to make yourself just a little stressed out, think about what might happen.
Shouldn't have lost that game to Brooklyn.
Yeah, we shouldn't have. But hey, we're going to be back with you on Wednesday after the game. There's going to be a double dip. Might be even a live after the game. Who knows? Maybe both. Maybe Adam is doing the live from the stadium.
It's been done before.
It's been done before.
Through the magic of radio and podcasting features now on stream.
You can find this podcast. Where can they find this podcast? iTunes, Spotify, Deezer. They can review this podcast. We'd love to read it on air if it's a good time. No word yet on if the YouTube viewer has gotten their bobblehead. I assume they have.
Hey, I literally have a receipt for it in my car right now.
You.
Don't make me pull receipts.
I will say,
I'm sending that bad boy.
I will say, I wish the receipt was inside. But if you got the bobblehead, let us know.
Is the receipt in the room with us?
I hope. Congratulations to Clippers marketing for a wonderful rebrand. The jerseys are so great. The merch is awesome.
I haven't wanted a jersey in a long time. I've gotten to the point in my life where I feel too old to wear a jersey. This is the first time in a long time where I'm like, damn, I like that blue one.
I want to get blue. Yeah, I'd like one to get a signed one to put in a glass case. I'm never going to wear it. I'm not going to wear a jersey. I'm a pasty man, and no one needs to see me wear a basketball jersey. Unless it's for a charity event, in which case, sure. But yeah, great event. Hope everyone who went to the Grove had a good time. The Grove sucks, but Terrence Mann was there with the new Clippers gear, so that's awesome.
Didn't suck today.
It did not suck today from 3 to 6 or whenever he was there. Like we said, we'll have the double dip for you on Wednesday. Full episode out on Thursday, most likely. The reviews help. Adam, do you have one more positive thing before we sign off?
They got 2 days off. It's kind of a big deal. If they needed that second All-Star break, this has to count as it. 2 days off before the Los Angeles Lakers. And it's not just 2 days off. It's you played at home, you stay at home, you're getting that home cooking, you're getting, good rest. And I can't wait to see how this team looks against the Los Angeles Lakers, because this is the barometer. This is a true test of where they're at. Not just because, the Lakers are playing better, but just it's still more about the Clippers. The talent disparity is in their favor. I just want to see them look like they have the energy and can play a complete game. We haven't seen that in so long. And I think if there's one team that can bring it out of them, it's the Lakers.
It's the Lakers. We will see you Wednesday, hopefully after a Clippers victory. Hope everyone has a good rest of your rainy Monday evening. And as always, let's go Clips.